going, wow, maybe we ought to really actually physically be getting prepared as communities for this. Instead, I'm faced with apathy and why is this guy just so negative about these things going on? How is it positive to ignore these atrocities going on in the Middle East? How is it conscious or evolved to elect a president that in fact has expanded the war? It's nothing against Obama, and it's nothing against Bush. These people are playing the roles that they were given. That's the only way you get to become a president in this U.S. corporation. You play by the book. What kind of world do you think we just kind of magically popped into in 2008? When we all sat there, some people, and clicked their heels together saying, there's no place like anybody but Bushland. There's no place but anybody but Bushland. There can always be a worse, a darker system. As much as I criticize Portland to a certain degree as putting up a mask, putting up a front, being more about the PBR clique than actually developing community and sharing information back and forth, I still love this city and feel the spiritual connection to the positive forces of light that are in this city. And I still meet people every day that are very conscious, very different, very open-minded, that are moving to this city. And so it also lets me know this is a city where a lot of stuff's going to go down. There's a lot of very different people that have some very interesting talents, albeit they may judge me for what I do, but I can still see the light in themselves and their own ability to do something powerful, very creative, because there's something about the city that draws the artist to it. That spiraling, you guys remember the show last week, spiraling nature, I think, of Portland, the energy, it contains both the light and the dark, powerful light energies and powerful dark. So I think it's important to stand our ground in this city and work to cleanse out the dark energies instead of simply dropping and running. This is the Northwest. This is the area where we can grow our own food. We have a lot of stuff going for us, but we always have to try to raise the bar to stay out of the lower, to stay out of being locked into the lower chakras and attempt the best of our ability to move forward, to achieve something lighter, to achieve something higher. And also, and I'm going to stop in a moment and move on to the next conversation, by saying it's natural, it's human nature. What is human nature? What is nature? Nature is such a broad English word that we use to define this world out there. Nature is due for an upgrade. Nature, or i.e. human nature, is always in a state of constant flux and change. For those of you that traveled, you know that every city, every country has its own vibe to it. It has its own energy. It has, as Terence McKenna said in a very famous speech, its own cultural operating system that's like a software program that has its own set of rules and norms and understandings of right and wrong. It changes with the land. It changes with the geography. It changes with the language. It changes with the times. What is human nature? What is humanity's destiny? Why are we here today? These are all very important questions that we ought to ask ourselves. Bill over here has a rant about 9/11, and I think I should probably move forward in the news script and set us up for that. We need to cover some other things. Let's go to this headline. GOP candidate, use prisons as welfare dorms. Use prisons as welfare dorms. This is from Republican candidate for governor Carl Palladino. He said he would transform some New York prisons into dormitories for welfare recipients where they could work in state-sponsored jobs, get employment training, and take lessons in personal hygiene. Palladino, a wealthy Buffalo real estate developer popular with many Tea Party activists, isn't saying the state should jail poor people. The program would be voluntary, so he says. But the suggestion that poor families would be better off in remote institutions rather than among friends and family in their own neighborhoods struck some anti-poverty activists as insulting. He laid out several plans that included converting underused state prisons into centers that would house welfare recipients. There they would do work for the state, military service in some cases, park service, in other cases, public works service. These are beautiful properties with basketball courts, bathroom facilities, toilet facilities. Many young people would love to get the hell out of cities, he says. He also defended his hygiene remarks, saying that he has trained inner-city troops in the Army and knows their needs. He says you have to teach them basic things, taking care of themselves, physical fitness. People that are in the Army and troops need to be told how to wash themselves. Well, that's because they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, bottom of the bucket. Oh, God, if that statement's even true. But it's very dehumanizing that he even suggests this. Palladino said he would open the program both to long-term welfare recipients and to people who have lost their jobs during the recession. So I've always had this concern, and now we are seeing people, of course, calling for this, that people that are on welfare serve the state in some capacity. In this case, he's going as far as suggesting that they live in these state-run prisons. But it's all going to be fine. We're going to have big screen TVs of Obama. We're going to eat porridge. We're going to fill out our little census packet. We're going to take our vaccines. We're going to take our medications. And everything's just going to be fine. And it's all an attack on the feminine. It's all attack on the family. It's all an attack on the womb. That's what much of this comes down to. This is why the women of the world are the solution to the problems that we face. While the men are warring, while the men are drinking, the women have great power. And I see the sadness. And this is not a lie, folks. And you can call me a liar, and that's fine. I see how depressed they are as I see these beautiful girls my age walking around Hawthorne. But you can't talk to them or develop, 'cause it'll scare them. But they don't even know how to read who a good guy is. It's just fear, fear, fear. But that sadness, even the sadness of the eyes of the man, it comes from not knowing thyself, not being on the right path in life, or being under attack. We're being bombarded by chemical attack. Young girls, the amount of estrogen they're getting. The age that young girls are developing breasts is continuing to plummet. It's right now at 7 or 8. What more information do we need that we are being chemically poisoned by industry? And the question is why and for what purpose? And your imagination can go into several directions from that point on. And I can talk about some of my suspicions, but the time does not exist for this 58-minute and 30-second show that's just one time a week. God, I wish I had more. But there's a lot of reasons, a lot of things that we ought to be looking at. FDA uses the massive egg recall to push for egg pasteurization. War on the woman, war on her health and our ability to reproduce healthy children by pasteurizing the food, by killing the nutrients. You are affecting the child that is being born. And by flooding our food supply with genetically modified crap, you're changing the DNA structure of the baby. And they are literally tampering with God's work. Whether you want to hear that or not, they're literally tampering with the image that we were made in. They are literally tampering with what is humanity and trying to direct it into their own little psychotic mad scientist worldview of what we ought to be. Mixing spider genes with other genes to create these weird tomatoes. I mean, this is stuff that we should be putting in our body. Common theme of the attack on the goddess, the attack on the feminine nature within, the attack on the women, the attack on the family. Wars without end. So-called females' liberation movement. Now we can compete against each other for fewer and fewer jobs. When one day someone could live with one income. Now you need 2 incomes to provide for that child. But the naysayers say, no, we're all free now. We should just stop breeding. Yes, some could argue we have a population problem. But if you want to look at what's really going on, have we become more prosperous over time? Has the war, for example, boosted our economy or sent us into the Greatest Depression? You'll see in time. And there'll be no more denial. Oh, but then there'll be apathy and alcoholism. And just saying, Alex, just give up. It's the end of the world. As what? Some sort of an excuse? Cop our way out of our own our own need to be responsible for our bets that we made. Silence is acceptance overall. In supporting the Ground Zero Mosque, Barack Obama falls on his sword. Now more division within the country, hatred being built up against Muslims, and it's this man that has expanded the so-called war on terror, war on Afghanistan, war on Pakistan, that has announced, even against the wishes of Harry Reid and his supporters, that a mosque is going to be built at Ground Zero. This is the passing of the baton. First, the president is charismatic and the people love him, just like they love Bush. And then all of a sudden he starts doing things that are going against his own lobbyists. And so here we see this falling on the sword, paving the way, handing the torch over, deliberately by design, to the GOP to receive it, the neocons, that is, in 2012. God help us between now and then that we don't have World War III with China. But we see this now in the news, and the next headline, Muslims fear backlash as festival falls near 9/11. By design, again,